Have you ever struggled to find your writing voice? That's the question I'll be addressing today in The Right Question. I'm Daphne Gray Grant, the publication coach. Here's a question from Eliane Thomas, a writer based in Paris, France. Here's what she's asked via email. I am not happy with my writing voice. I'm not quite sure what's wrong with the way I sound now, but I want the tone of my writing to be more sophisticated and more interesting. Do you have any suggestions for what I can do? Thanks for your question, Eliane. You didn't say what kind of writing you actually do, but I guess it doesn't really matter. Voice is an issue that faces everyone, whether they're novelists, academics, or nonfiction writers. I've written a detailed post about voice, and I include the link below. It intrigues me that you've used the word voice and tone. They're actually quite different things. As I say in the blog post, a voice is like a record or a CD. It's steady, consistent, and memorable. You don't ever mix up Beyoncé with Madonna or Drake with Elton John. Tone, on the other hand, is like an individual song. It can be sad, upbeat, romantic, angry, but it will still carry the voice of the performer. To identify voice, you need to be a really serious reader. So my first tip for you is to read well and widely. You say you want to be more sophisticated and interesting, so identify which writers are the most interesting and sophisticated to you. Here's the deal. Many people assume that all the writing in the world can be arranged on a continuum from bad to good. But it doesn't work that way because everyone has a different continuum. Basically, we're talking about taste. Think of writing like food. Just because I love blue cheese and broccoli doesn't mean that you will. What I like, you might hate. And what you like, I might hate. So think about the writing that you find interesting and sophisticated and spend more time with it. In fact, I even suggest you copy it word for word. This is a really good way to familiarize yourself with the techniques your favorite authors have used. Below, I include a link to a blog post I've written on becoming a copycat. As you copy, consider the kinds of writing issues that contribute to voice. For example, vocabulary. Do you use long words or short ones? Is their origin largely French or Anglo-Saxon? Sentence length. How long are your typical sentences? Do they tend toward the shortage range, 14 to 16 words, or are they, on average, longer? Do you favor concrete language, or do you prefer to veer towards abstraction? What sorts of verbs do you use? Do you like colorful and specific ones, or do you favor state of being verbs like is and was? What sorts of connectors and transitions do you use? Some writers put a lot of effort into connectors, while others think it's not nearly so important. Do you have a deft hand with figurative language? Here I'm referring to metaphors, similes, personification, and hyperbole. My list is not complete, but it should give you a good starting point as you consider the tools and techniques you can use to develop your own voice. Finally, let me wrap up with a quote from the Canadian-born but US-based fiction writer Laurie Lansons. Aunt Lovey used to tell me that if I wanted to be a writer, I needed a writer's voice. Read, she'd say, and if you have a writer's voice, one day it will shout out, I can do that too. Eliane, developing or changing your voice is not an easy process, but it is possible. It just takes persistence and determination.